Discover the amazing legacy I unearthed. Bring your sons to see the incredible transformation. John Miller stood in the attic of his childhood home, the damp scent of timber and mildew swirling around him as the rain drummed rhythmically on the roof. Dust motes danced in the tiny beam of light fighting its way through the single, grimy window. He had come seeking solace, perhaps even distraction, from the mountainous stack of bills and the stagnation of his career as an architect. But what he found instead threatened to unravel everything he had known about his family and himself. The box in the corner, neglected and forgotten, beckoned him. Inside lay blueprints that pulsed with a fire he thought long extinguished. Hadn't he learned to bury those aspirations? The dreams of leading a company like his father had. The visions of rebuilding Willow Creek that once brought him joy now felt like cruel remnants of lost time. Could he even dare to imagine rising from the ashes? John trembled as he pulled a weathered letter from the box, the faded ink striking with words that once commanded respect, now reduced to memories of injustice. Greed had ripped apart the legacy his family had built, a wound deeper than he could bear. A perilous question loomed in the air. Did pursuing this resurrection mean risking everything once more? Or was it a betrayal of the safe path he had chosen for his boys? The rain intensified, mirroring the storm in his chest. As tension coiled tightly around his heart, he knew he couldn't walk this path alone. The prospect of involving Ethan and Noah hung before him like a specter. Imagine the pride they would feel, learning about their grandfather's fight against the corporate beast. But could he really drag them into a fight? What if he failed them, crushed under the weight of his father's expectations? Each hesitation churned in the pit of his stomach. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. The words of the letter echoed in his mind, drowning out the patter of rain. This was the key to their legacy, their heritage. He felt a flicker of determination, but it was quickly quenched by doubts that slithered through his thoughts. For every plan he imagined, a fear rose to meet it. Was he reached for an intangible future? One that could shatter like glass at the slightest touch? What if corporate interest crushed their dreams again? What would that say to his boys? Would it teach them that dreams are built on broken hopes? Noah's innocent laughter suddenly echoed in the shadows of the attic, juxtaposed against the weight of their family history. A history that was now his burden, a legacy he could mold or destroy. The looming deadline for the vital meeting pressed on him, suffocating with every awkward breath. Moments of clarity flickered in. Was he merely setting tips for failure by igniting long-buried dreams? The stakes had never felt higher. John could almost taste the tension on the air as he questioned the value of pursuing this ambition. Fear and hope clashed and clanged in his chest like church bells in a storm. As he persistently opened the box and examined it more closely, a weighty realization washed over him. Perhaps a fight for family honor meant stepping into the ring of lost aspirations, and right now, both his heart and mind were both racing for clarity. The clock kept ticking down. Shadows consumed the corners of the attic, and doubts grew heavier as he sat there, pen poised over paper, grappling with the implications of legacy. Then a notification pinged on his phone, jolting him from his reverie. A text message arrived, an unexpected reminder that the past had a way of catching up with the present. Could he take the leap, or was he sealing their fate with each second that passed? The sound of the notification echoed through the solemnity of the attic. John glanced down, his heart racing as he unlatched his phone, battling a mix of curiosity and apprehension. The familiar name flashed triumphantly on the screen, An old friend and former colleague, Tom. Faced with the choice between his immediate worries and the beckoning past, he opened the message. John, long time no see. Are you still at Miller Architecture? We should catch up. Maybe discuss some projects we could tackle together. Let me know when you're free. The warmth of Tom's enthusiasm made John's chest swell, while simultaneously pricking at him with a darker twinge of self-doubt. Could he even have a conversation about plans and projects, let alone bring his father's legacy back to life? He hesitated, annoyance mixing with regret. This was the moment he needed to focus on reclaiming his identity, yet the very thought of engaging with the past unsettled him. His mind, buzzing with conflicting emotions, returned to the letter and the blueprint scattered around him. They seemed to whisper promises of possibility, of a redemption only half imagined. Memories of collaborating with his father during Willow Creek's heyday flooded back, filled with laughter, creativity, and the surge of ambition. He clenched the phone, weighing these thoughts against the fear creeping back in, threatening to wrap him in chains of inaction. With a sudden resolve, John stood, letting the dusty beams of the attic anchor him momentarily. He could not bear the weight of his indecision any longer. He needed to confront his ambitions. With determined strides, he moved toward the attic door, pausing only to quench a twinge of guilt at leaving the past behind. In moments of clarity, he recalled the stories his father had crafted, the solutions born from challenges, the beauty rising from ashes. Where others saw failure, he now recognized potential. Each design touched by his father brimmed with lessons in resilience, tenacity, and honor. It filled him with a fiery urgency. The aspiration to reshape Willow Creek was not just a mere dream. It was a legacy, waiting to breathe once more. John descended into the living room, where the very walls echoed with his family's history. The sunlight fought through dreary clouds, casting geometric shadows across the floor. There, within that ambient glow, he envisioned a future. Not just for himself, but intricately woven with the hopes and dreams of Ethan and Noah. He could be a guide, showing them the lessons buried within their heritage. Ethan's voice brought him back, as the boy scampered down the stairs, sporting a mischievous grin. Dad, can we build a fort? John's heart soared with this simple request, and he knelt to his son's level, the craftsmanship visions flooding back. Sure, we can build a castle instead, like the ones I used to design. Ethan's eyes lit up at the promise of adventure, and in that moment, John recognized an unexpected truth. Nurturing creativity in his boys could be the first step towards igniting a flame in himself. Could their innocence guide him toward rediscovering his own dreams? The intertwining paths of their future suddenly illuminated his mind, beckoning him to take action. Just then, another notification pinged. A call from Tom. Hesitating only a split second, he seized the moment. He answered, curiosity flooding in alongside excitement. Hey, Tom, it's John. The earnestness in his voice felt foreign, but grounding. This was just the beginning, a connection to the outside world, his revival. But as Tom's voice streamed through, John's mind surged with possibilities, weaving the threads of the future tightly around him. What if ambition lay just outside that door? And just as the conversation unveiled potentials, a new pang of uncertainty loomed. Could he truly rebuild? Not just for himself, but for the next generations. The stakes were rising. Would he answer the call of legacy, or risk falling prey to the same fate as before? With the weight of his father's legacy pressing on him, he wondered if the choices he made next would either ignite his son's creativity or bind them to a cycle of loss. The storm was brewing. Would he let it rain or rise anew? The warmth of Tom's enthusiasm lingered in John's thoughts long after he ended the call. As he paced the living room, The familiar contours of the space transformed into a canvas, an open invitation to reimagine his life. Each step was charged with a mixture of anxiety and exhilaration. The magnitude of the decision before him twisted in his stomach, a profound realization about his agency dawning upon him. He held the power to reshape not just structures, but destinies. His mind turned toward the blueprints again. With Tom proposing a potential partnership, it felt as if the past nudged him, pushing him back to the world of architecture. It wasn't merely a profession, but a deep-rooted passion, born from childhood days spent in his father's workshop, constructing models with love and precision. Those memories seemed to cast shadows on the walls, whispering encouragement. John took a deep breath, his resolve momentarily faltering under the gravity of past failures. What would Tom say if he knew the doubts clawing at John's mind? Would he still be eager to collaborate? Self-criticism rose anew. He pressed his palms against the dining table, steadying himself. It was time to accept that doubt was merely part of the journey, a sign of ambition battling against complacency. He could allow his fears to dictate his choices, or he could step forward. With every recollection of his father's courage, John's determination grew. Outside, the clouds shifted, hinting at the sun's return as he gathered the blueprints scattered across the table. He organized them, one by one, allowing each design to spark excitement anew. What if he infused these concepts with his innovations, tailored for families seeking warmth and beauty in their spaces? Slowly, he began to see the potential for his own visionary twist on the legacy of Willow Creek. A living narrative that could connect with the present while honoring the past. "Dad, can we go outside now?" Ethan burst into the room, breaking John's reverie. John looked down at his son, eyes bright with anticipation, ready to embark on their castle-building project. His heart swelled. This was exactly how creativity ignited. It started with simplicity, evolved into collaboration, and transformed into something extraordinary. "Absolutely! Let's make it the best castle anyone has ever seen." As they ventured outside, John's attitude shifted. In the vibrant sunshine, he sculpted with Ethan, feeling the stirrings of his own imagination as he caught glimpses of a renewed purpose. Each stick and blanket became more than just materials. They were the building blocks of memories. As he watched Ethan's eyes light up, John grappled with a powerful notion. Could the act of creation spark a greater revival within him? With Noah joining to add his own flair, their laughter reverberated through the air, mixing with the rustling leaves, weaving a soundtrack for their joyous endeavor. John paused, momentarily lost in gratitude for this vibrant moment. Yet part of him was still tethered to the looming decision of his professional future. Would he leap into the unknown territory of his father's legacy? As the sun dipped lower on the horizon, casting long shadows that danced around them, John realized he needed to confront this tension, to bring intentionality to his call with Tom. He took a deep breath, determination hardening into a palpable resolve. Tomorrow he would meet Tom, but not just as a friend rekindling a partnership. He would approach as someone ready to mold his own future. That night, after the boys were settled in bed, John's thoughts drifted back to the conversation. He felt the weight of potential possibilities flood his mind, blending with trepidation. If he accepted Tom's invitation, he would step onto an unpredictable path, laden with ambitions. But if he backed away, would he merely allow the fears to corral him once again? The decision that awaited him was more than a simple phone call. It was a reflection of his willingness to redefine everything he had feared. As he turned off the light, John felt a stirring. A pulse of clarity began to emerge, urging him to prepare for an imminent confrontation. Tomorrow would test his commitment to not just reclaim his father's legacy, but to craft his own. A future capable of inspiring his sons. As he closed his eyes, he knew one truth. The moment had arrived to face the giants of his past, head-on. Would he seize this opportunity, or let it slip away? The answer lingered in the distance, ready to be revealed with the dawn of a new day. As dawn's light seeped into John's bedroom, it felt both like a blessing and a burden. The world outside stirred with the freshness of a new day, but within him, a storm rumbled, a blend of expectation and dread. He lay there, eyes wide, wrestling with the possibilities lurking in the shadows of his mind. Each tick of the clock echoed his heartbeat, reminding him that time was running short before his meeting with Tom. The gravity of his choices pressed heavily on him. His father's legacy felt both like a warm embrace and a demanding challenge. John envisioned the vision he yearned to translate into reality. Yet the weight of past failures lapped at his resolve, like waves against a fragile shore. Could he truly step into the shoes that once belonged to his father and carve an original path through the thick, tangled branches of expectations and aspirations? Ethan's soft voice broke through the silence, calling for his father. John swung his legs off the bed and took a deep breath, contemplating how the purity of a child's trust could ground him in this chaotic moment. "Let's build another castle today," Ethan exclaimed, his bright face full of the unblemished enthusiasm that John had nearly forgotten. "Absolutely, buddy. But first, I need to do something important." As he prepared for the day, John engaged in an internal dialogue, one that challenged him at every turn. Why was he so afraid? What lay beyond this moment with Tom? In the shower, the warm water cascaded over him, washing the remnants of doubt away, at least for the moment. He recalled his father's unwavering commitment to each project, the way he infused every design with love and tenacity. This was his opportunity to reclaim that spirit and mold it into something that belonged to him, a blend of respect for the past and recognition of the future. After breakfast, the energy shifted in the house. Laughter echoed as he and the boys constructed their makeshift kingdom in the backyard. Yet with every flick of Ethan's hands, and every handful of sand that Noah would throw joyfully into the air, John felt a nagging discontent rewriting the joyful narrative they were creating. The approach of noon loomed large, much like the formidable meeting ahead. "Boys, what if we made this castle even bigger?" John proposed, willing to channel his inner architect, while fleeting moments of fear rattled through him. With a glimmer of their laughter ringing in his ears, John returned inside, steeling himself for the impending call with Tom. He gathered the blueprints again, eyes scanning the sketches, as if trying to extract courage from the lines drawn on the pages. Could each structure not merely represent maps of the ground, but blueprints for his future? As he touched the outlines of the designs, he sensed hidden talents lying dormant within, gifts he had sidelined for far too long. Slowly, the idea blossomed. It wasn't just about working on projects. He wouldn't just follow old paths. He could create new ones driven by an authentic blend of innovation and respect. The phone rang, jolting him from his thoughts. A rush of adrenaline coupled with a psyching out of his own self-doubt flooded his senses. Would Tom amplify the talent hiding within him? Or would the moment collapse under the weight of his apprehension? This call was not just a reaffirmation of partnership. It was a declaration of John's intention to revitalize a legacy that had grown stagnant. "Hey, Tom," he greeted, forcing vigor into his voice. "John, glad to hear from you. Are you ready to talk shop?" As they moved deeper into the conversation, John felt his voice steadier, ideas pouring forth that he hadn't even articulated before. Yet, amidst the flow of dialogue, doubts whispered dangerous lies. What if Tom didn't share his vision? What if he saw John's excitement as naivete instead of potential? A flicker of uncertainty twisted in his stomach, and as another hour passed filled with professional bravado, John realized the conversation had morphed into an unexpected crucible. He was not merely aligning with Tom's proposal. He was forging his own path under the guidance of a like-minded soul, whose belief in him was unyielding. "I want to not only build structures but create spaces that resonate with families," John said, feeling the weight of intention in each word. "Places that tell a story. There was silence on the other end, and for a moment, the world paused. Anticipation crackled in the air. Would this be the moment when Tom embraced the idea? Or would it mark the end of this renewed journey before it had truly begun? As Tom began to respond, John felt a tremor race through him, transforming into an anchor of anticipation. Whatever lay ahead, whether acceptance, critique, or even disagreement, this was his moment to rise. "Let's explore that together," Tom finally replied. And with that door cracking open, John knew he stood on the precipice of something vital. Would this new alliance illuminate the way forward, or would it reveal unexpected shadows lurking just beyond? As the call ended, John's heart was a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. Tom's agreement was a key that unlocked a door to possibility, yet anxiety clawed at his chest. The fear of failure clashed violently against the exhilaration of potential success. He glanced at the blueprints strewn across the table, more than mere sketches. They embodied dreams and burdens alike. The weight of his father's legacy felt both a blessing and a curse now, infused with a renewed purpose. This was a juncture, his chance to honor his father while steering their family business in an innovative direction. But a shadow persisted in the corners of his mind, whispering doubts of whether he was truly capable of such a transformation. With a deep breath, John leaned closer to the sketches. They began to morph in his mind, evolving from structures of wood and nails into emotional landscapes that could evoke feelings far beyond their physical form. Each curve he traced seemed infused with vitality. What if each project could tell a story, not just built upon his father's foundation, but branching out into unique territory? He envisioned spaces bustling with life, laughter, and togetherness. A bridge between the past he loved and the future he feared to tread. Suddenly energized by this line of thought, he reached for his laptop. The clutter fading from his workspace mirrored the growing clarity in his mind. A proposal would need to take shape, one that not only outlined plans, but resonated with passion and heart. This wasn't merely an architectural endeavor. It was the beginning of a narrative. He became absorbed in the rhythmic tapping of keys, the words finding a synergy as they flowed onto the screen. A proposal built on ideas of community, sustainability, and love. Hours slipped by as John lost himself in his work. The sun dipped lower, casting a golden hue through the window, illuminating the pages before him. The laughter of Ethan and Noah floated in from the backyard, warm reminders of why he was building this future. He pictured them growing up in spaces filled with stories and possibilities. Could there be greater motivation than that? Once the initial draft was complete, he hesitated, staring at the screen. Was it too ambitious? Would Tom be willing to champion such a vision? Or would the complexity of his ideas push them both into a realm of confusion? Every instinct urged him to tone it down, to make it risk-averse, to lean into familiarity. Yet another part of him, the part that had finally dared to envision beyond limits, fought for a voice. Did he want to replay the safety of an uninspired past, or challenge himself to reach beyond? Grappling with indecision, he closed the laptop for the night. He needed time to marinate on these thoughts to allow the ideas to fuse into his very being. As he walked outside, the night air wrapped around him, infused with unnameable possibility. Ethan and Noah, enshrined in the glow of their makeshift castle, shouted in delight, their joy a stark contrast to the maelstrom within him. This was the connection. Those laughs and shouts reminded him of the legacy he sought to forge. Not one of fear and obligation, but of imagination and wonder. "Hey, boys!" he called, suddenly invigorated. "How about we make this castle even more magical? What if we added a moat or a drawbridge?" The boys responded with enthusiastic cheers, their excitement resonating with his own budding determination. As they gathered materials to elevate their creation, John felt an undeniable shift. Each block added was not just a piece of sand and soil. They were building something together, cementing shared dreams. But as they worked side by side, a seed of trepidation silently settled in. Was he genuinely capable of navigating this new partnership with Tom? The stakes rose higher, and the more he thought about the proposal he would present next week, the more the flickering dread crept in. In the midst of laughter, his mind shifted into overdrive. It wouldn't just be a professional pitch, but an overture that honored both the legacy of his father and the true spirit of family he wished to protect. As a sense of accomplishment flowed through him, the question loomed larger. Could he truly merge his vision with the structure that Tom had envisioned for their firm? Or would he stumble into the familiar shadows of his past, doubt eclipsing potential? Tomorrow I'll refine the ideas more, he promised himself silently. Tomorrow was his time to solidify his intentions and courage down on paper. Would he march boldly into that meeting, secured by his preparation, or would he let self-doubt derail what he'd begun? The crossroads awaited him, and with the soft sound of his children's laughter echoing in the background, John prepared to face whatever lay ahead, driven by the faith they inspired. What lay in store for him inside that conference room? And would the clarity of his vision withstand the scrutiny of the business world? The morning sun infiltrated John's thoughts, scattering the remnants of nighttime uncertainty. He had barely slept, but beneath the fatigue lay a simmering resolve. Today he would present his proposal to Tom, and he refused to back down. Armed with renewed insights after a night of reflection, he could articulate a vision that transcended his father's legacy, while forging a distinct path for himself. He arrived at the office early, with each step echoing his determination. The office felt alien in its quiet, devoid of the usual hustle that reverberated through the halls. He took a seat at his desk and stared at the scattered blueprints and notes. The designs suddenly appeared more than just drawings. They became narratives of innovation and hope. He took a deep breath, letting the comforting smell of coffee fill the air. This moment belonged to him. As the clock inched toward the meeting time, John meticulously reviewed his notes, bracing himself for potential criticism. With a flicker of doubt, he wondered if he had bitten off more than he could chew. Tom could be traditional, revering the tried and tested, especially with the firm's reputation on the line. But hesitation could not slide into the driver's seat. He had to center his thoughts, grounding himself in the belief that evolution, not preservation, was the true essence of legacy. At precisely 10 o'clock, Tom entered the conference room, his demeanor sharp, yet approachable. They exchanged pleasantries, but John could feel the weight of the meeting looming overhead. Taking his seat opposite Tom, John set his materials on the table like a soldier preparing for battle. As he clicked through his presentation, he kept one eye on Tom, searching for signs of interest or skepticism. "John, I've been looking forward to seeing what you came up with," Tom remarked, his tone casual but probing. "Thank you for this opportunity," John replied, his voice steadying his wavering nerves. "I wanted to approach our next project differently. It's more than just about building structures. It's about creating vibrant spaces that foster community and connection." As he spoke, John observed keenly how Tom responded to each slide. He had chosen visuals that encapsulated warmth, laughter, and life, contrasting with the sterile blueprints typically expected in business proposals. In those moments, John's passion surged. The narration echoed in his head. This was a chance not just to present a project, but to convey a vision rooted in the authenticity he had discovered during their family game outside. Tom leaned forward, his brow furrowed in concentration. "I appreciate the enthusiasm here. But tell me about the risks. You know we need to be measured. Businesses don't thrive on dreams alone." The comment felt like cold water on John's warmth. Risks were his recurring shadow, the familiar whisper of doubt that threatened to choke his newfound ambition. "I understand, and I'm not asking for an unbridled leap. My proposal incorporates sustainable practices and targeted community feedback to mitigate those risks. Yes, it's ambitious, but not reckless. The plan's foundation is grounded in feasibility. Silence descended as Tom absorbed his words, and John felt a stirring of fear and determination coiling in his stomach. Would they be enough to see his vision through? I want to ensure we have a responsibility to our clients and this firm. Your concept, though promising, may stretch our limits. Tom finally spoke, scrutinizing the layout on the screen. John's pulse quickened. This was where the interplay of personal and professional would decide his fate. He felt suddenly acutely aware of everything he represented. His father's legacy, the children's laughter, and the audacity to dream. I respect that, but I believe we also have a responsibility to challenge the status quo. Just because something has always been done a certain way doesn't mean it is right. The words hung in the air, a daring premise swirling with potential consequences. Tom observed him, eyes narrowing in contemplation. The silence was pregnant with possibility, as his expression shifted through understanding, interest, and then, perhaps, encouragement. Okay, let's take a step back and talk about this further. I need to feel completely convinced before I move forward. Tom finally stated. John's heartbeat thundered in his ears. They hadn't shut the door completely. But could he trust his instincts? The prospect of pushing against Tom's established way of thinking stirred both excitement and apprehension. In the midst of negotiations, one question spiraled in John's mind, spiraling into the realm of urgency. Could he bridge his vision with the realities of the firm before it slipped through his fingers? And as they began a deeper dialogue, John wondered if this was only the beginning of an enduring partnership, or the beginning of a confrontation with his own limits. The moments that followed the meeting felt both exhilarating and disorienting for John. He left the conference room with a mix of triumph and lingering uncertainty. Tom had not outright dismissed his proposal, but the tug-of-war between the familiar and the innovative reverberated in John's gut. As he walked through the office, the buzzing conversations and ringing phones felt distant. He was anchored in his thoughts, sifting through Tom's words, trying to discern where opportunity lay hidden within skepticism. In the quiet of his workspace, John replayed the meeting in his mind like a movie, analyzing every gesture and intonation. Had he been convincing enough? Did Tom genuinely perceive the potential of creating engaging spaces? Or was he simply placating John before delivering the inevitable rejection? The scenario tormented him, yet it didn't quell his determination. It ignited it. He spread out the blueprints once more, tracing the lines of his designs. Each curve represented an idea that flourished from his recent experiences. His father's legacy entwined with his earnest vision. The designs were alive with the laughter of children playing, the gatherings of families, the conversations exchanged between neighbors. But could he persuade Tom to see that? With every tick of the clock, John felt the urgency building within him. He could allow fear to entrap him, or he could harness it to fuel his next move. Yet before he could strategize how to secure Tom's buy-in, a nagging thought emerged. What if he didn't wait for someone else to validate his idea? What if he took the initiative to prepare a prototype? The plan formed rapidly in his mind like a starburst igniting the darkness. John knew that implementing the vision would articulate credibility more persuasively than words alone. He could draft a small-scale version of the project, engage a community, gather feedback, and show tangible results. The thought invigorated him, clarity slicing through his doubts. But where to start? Time was critical, so he shifted gears, immersing himself in research, studying similar projects across the nation, understanding common pitfalls and successful strategies. With each click of the keyboard, John felt himself molding his ambitions into something concrete. The thrill of discovery coursed through him. He was uncovering his own abilities, extending beyond the confines of the blueprint and into real-world application. By evening, he had developed a provisional plan that combined low-cost materials and community resources. It wasn't perfect, but it was a starting point, a prototype. That spark of creativity intertwined with strategy felt deeply satisfying. He was paving his own way, not simply echoing his father's footsteps. As he packed up for the day, a new feeling washed over him, one that blended anxiety with exhilaration. This wasn't just about getting Tom on board anymore. It was about taking ownership of his vision and ensuring its survival. Each step laid before him now felt like a declaration, a commitment to push against the boundaries he'd always considered. Standing by the elevator, John contemplated his next move. He would need allies to gather community insights and support. The realization sparked another question. Who could he approach that would be as passionate about this vision as he was? Stepping into the elevator, an unexpected resource surfaced in his mind. Lily, the enthusiastic young architect who had joined the firm a few months ago. She was bold, creative, and had a refreshing perspective. Instantly, John felt a rhythm emerge, a plan grounded in collaboration that began to blossom in his mind. He strolled to his desk, firing off an invitation to Lily, ready to stir magic in a plan that could challenge the firm's very foundation. As he hit send, he felt a surge of adrenaline. Could she see the same value in this vision? That night, John fell asleep with renewed purpose. But as he drifted into dreams of vibrant spaces alive with community, one thought persisted. Could this partnership be the key to unlocking the transformative potential he envisioned? Little did he know, his decision to bring Lily into the fold would soon lead him to frontiers he had not yet imagined. The next morning dawned with a sense of urgency that stirred within John. He awoke not to the soft sounds of morning, but to the relentless echo of his thoughts from the previous night. What if Lily became his strongest ally? The idea exhilarated him, yet the weight of responsibility hung in the air. If he was going to convince her to share in his vision, he needed to steer their conversation towards motivation and possibilities. After a brisk shower and a hasty breakfast, John arrived at the office earlier than usual, the revolving doors of the building welcoming him like the mouth of a cave, ripe with undiscovered treasure. As he walked down the corridor, he mentally rehearsed his pitch to Lily. Each step resonated with purpose, cementing his commitment to exploring the depths of his innovative designs. He arrived at his desk with a quiet determination, the prototype plan finally outlined and waiting for her discerning eye. The clock hung over him, its ticking seemingly louder in the anticipatory silence. He wondered if he'd made the right choice in inviting her. Would she truly understand the depth of what he was attempting to achieve? Or was he risking their fragile professional relationship on the whims of his passion? Moments later, the door creaked open, and in walked Lily, her vibrant presence lighting up the room. As she settled at her desk, John called out, "Hey, Lily, do you have a minute to discuss something important?" She turned, her curious expression igniting a flicker of confidence within him. "Of course, John. What's on your mind?" John motioned for her to come closer, spreading out the blueprints on his desk. As she leaned in, he saw the light within her eyes, the same spark he felt when he envisioned the spaces that could be. "I've been working on a project that's more than just a typical design," he began, laying the groundwork for their collaboration. "It's about creating spaces that bring people together, sparking joy and connection." As he spoke, John noted the shift in her demeanor. She leaned closer, absorbing every word with intent. He described the prototype, the materials, the envisioned interactions. He shared the vision that ignited his passion and urged her to envision it alongside him. "I want to build a small-scale version of this project and gather the community's feedback. Your perspective would be invaluable." Lily's expression morphed from curiosity to intrigue, then settled into thoughtfulness. "That sounds ambitious, John," she said, her enthusiasm palpable. "But what do you expect from the community?" I want genuine interaction," he replied, sensing the moment hanging delicately in the air. Not just superficial feedback, but a dialogue that can shape the project. I believe that if we involve them, we won't just be creating a locality. We'll be fostering a sense of belonging. A thoughtful silence fell between them. John held his breath, waiting for her response. Finally, Lily broke the quiet, her voice filled with optimism, tempered by realism. "I'd love to be part of this, but we also need to consider the risks involved. What if the prototype doesn't resonate? Or worse, what if it faces strong opposition?" Her questions cut deep, prompting an internal dialogue John hadn't anticipated. Doubts surfaced like weeds in a garden, yet he felt a renewed surge of commitment rising within him. "That's precisely why we have to try," he urged. "Failure has its own lessons, but not trying stales innovation. We have an opportunity to grow, to learn, together." Lily's brow furrowed as she weighed the prospect. The tension in the air shifted. He could see she was wrestling with her own motivations. Motivating her would require more than just enthusiasm. It would call for creating a persuasive vision that transcended potential pitfalls. With a determined nod, she met his gaze. "Okay, I'm in. But we need to be smart about this, John. We'll plan our strategy." As he felt the alignment of their aspirations, John realized this partnership was already evolving into a driving force. The thrill of collaboration, the playful rhythm of innovative ideas exchanged. This was what he had imagined but never dared to pursue. As they dove into discussions, plans began to take shape, each fold of the blueprint intertwining their shared determination. Yet beneath the surface, John sensed a looming question. How far were they willing to venture into uncharted territory? Above all, could they withstand the inevitable challenges that awaited? Little did they realize, the exploration would soon lead them not only deeper into the recesses of their project, but also unravel questions of personal values, resilience, and the true essence of collaboration. John's journey was just beginning, and with every step, he wondered if he was prepared for the trials that lay ahead. The days unfolded like a tightly wound scroll, revealing new challenges and opportunities each morning. John and Lily threw themselves into the project, meetings transforming from mere discussions into fervent brainstorming sessions. Yet with progress came pressure, and John's resolve began to fracture under the weight of his expectations. With Lily by his side, he had entered a realm of creative fervor. They meticulously refined the designs, ensuring the spaces they envisioned would resonate with the community's needs. But as the prototype edged closer to reality, the persistent voice of doubt whispered incessantly in John's mind. Were they prepared for the scrutiny that awaited? Late one evening, the office lights dimmed gradually, leaving behind the ambient glow of their desks. John stared at the blueprints, tracing the lines with his fingertips, as if he could will the courage to bridge the distance between aspiration and execution. He had previously excitedly risked everything for creative exploration, yet now he found himself paralyzed by potential failure. Lily broke the silence with a soft sigh. "What's bothering you?" He stood, turning to face her. "I can't shake this feeling that we're on the brink of something significant. But what if we miss the mark?" His voice wavered, betraying a fear he had long kept buried. "Missing the mark is part of the process," she replied, her brow furrowed thoughtfully as she gathered her thoughts. "But you have to let yourself embrace the process. Innovation never comes without risk." Her words, though intended to console, lodged deeper into John's psyche. Could he truly accept failure as an integral part of success? As the pressure merged into a keener focus, a motivational drive ignited within him. He began to confront his hesitation directly, seeking counsel from his inner dialogue as a lifeline. A methodical plan to address his fears took shape in his mind. Perhaps the resistance toward failure stemmed from a deeply ingrained desire for approval. From colleagues, from seniors, from anyone whose opinion held weight. "I think we need to frame our narrative, Lily," he said suddenly, excitement rekindling in his voice. "If we present our design and process as an evolving narrative, rather than a finalized product, it invites understanding and engagement. Then, if we stumble, at least we're already in the conversation about growth." Lily's eyes lit up, the spark of shared ambition reflected back at him. "That's brilliant. We can host a preliminary session, presenting the idea behind the concept, showing our journey, not just the end product itself." In that moment, John's perspective shifted dramatically. He could pull the veil off his perfectionist tendencies and foster a culture of learning rather than judgment. It calmed his racing heart. He could finally view setbacks not as failures, but as integral steps toward evolution. As their conversation deepened, a palpable energy enveloped the office. There was no longer just the weight of potential outcomes. There was the excitement about embracing the entirety of their collaborative journey. They returned to the blueprints, but now John felt liberated as he sketched out presentations and interactive sessions. He began to unearth facets of his professional self he had been unaware of. His talent for storytelling, for engaging others, and for weaving the threads of emotional connection between design and community. However, beneath this newfound determination simmered a different strain of anxiety. What if the community didn't respond as they had hoped? John realized he was at a critical juncture, straddling the boundary between fear of stagnation and the urge to evolve. The time had come to face the complexities of his project, understanding that the true test of both his and Lily's capabilities would not only come from implementing their ideas, but also from handling feedback, constructive or harsh, as part of their growth. As their plans began to take form and their interactions deepened, he felt an impending crossroad looming closer. Would they rise to meet the community's expectations, or would their initial steps falter under scrutiny? With this gnawing question lingering in his mind, John understood he was on the cusp of not only a transformative project, but a personal evolution that could redefine his career. It beckoned a challenge he could no longer ignore, the unveiling of his vulnerability. Entranced by this reckoning, John stood resolute, eager yet apprehensive about the journey ahead, wondering how they might navigate the intricate dance of ambition and doubt. Little did he know, the whispers of their project's future would soon converge into a definitive moment that would determine both his and Lily's fates. The days following their pivotal brainstorming session felt like a whirlwind, each moment brimming with new insights and renewed hope. The collaborative energy John and Lily cultivated sparked a wave of creativity, transforming their initial fears into a shared vision that pulsated with potential. Despite this surge of enthusiasm, the ever-looming question of community acceptance gnawed at John's resolve. As they prepared for the first community engagement event, John threw himself into the details, tirelessly refining their presentation. The atmosphere in the office thrummed with excitement. But beneath that, John battled the shadows of self-doubt that threatened to engulf him. He yearned for validation, not just from the community, but from within himself. Was he truly equipped to handle the unpredictable realm of public opinion? The day of the presentation arrived, cloaked in a blend of anticipation and anxiety. John stood at the front of the auditorium, his heart racing as faces filled the chairs before him. Families, neighbors, and community leaders gathered, an eclectic mix of expectant eyes scrutinizing his every thought. Would this endeavor resonate, or would disappointment wash over him like a torrential downpour? With the first slide illuminating the screen, John found solace in the ethos of storytelling. He shared not just the blueprints and designs, but the narrative that bound them. He opened up about his father's legacy, revealing the truth behind his ambitions, the shattering fears, and the profound desire to bridge the past with a vibrant future. As he told the story, the tension that had knotted his shoulders began to dissolve. Each word threaded a connection, weaving the audience into a shared narrative, making them active participants rather than mere spectators. He shared the aspirational vision of creating spaces where laughter could echo, and connections could flourish, Lily joined him on stage, embodying the spirit of collaboration, and together, they outlined the vision for the prototype, the small-scale endeavor that would bring their innovative ideas to life. "This isn't just about us," she emphasized, her voice carrying warmth and determination. "It's about all of us, and it's about the community we are building together." As they presented the shared narrative, murmurs of interest rippled through the audience, and John felt an unfamiliar surge of empowerment. This wasn't merely an architectural project. It was a heartfelt call to action, a moment to invite everyone to partake in shaping the space that would become their home, their sanctuary. When the presentation concluded, the initial silence was a heavy blanket, punctuated only by the rustle of papers as the community absorbed what they had just witnessed. Was it enough? Had he truly connected? A woman from the audience was the first to stand, her eyes shining with enthusiasm. "I loved what you shared. This feels personal. It feels like you genuinely care about our community," she said, her voice firm and unwavering. Her praise ignited a chain reaction, others joining in, echoing their support and curiosity. Questions poured forth. How could they get involved, contribute resources, or share personal anecdotes, weaving their voices into the tapestry John and Lily had envisioned? Each question was a thread that tied the audience deeper into their vision, bridging the divide between creator and community. As the event came to a close, John felt a burgeoning sense of liberation. Their hard work and vulnerability had forged genuine connections, transforming fear into a palpable momentum. For the first time, he began to embrace the power of community validation, not as a desire for approval, but as a vital ingredient for creation. Exiting the auditorium, a weight lifted from John's shoulders, and for the first time in years, he felt solid confidence in his craft. He had demonstrated not only the technical skill needed for architecture, but also the human essence that binds communities together, a lesson far beyond blueprints and structures. In the weeks that followed, they began assembling a team. Neighbors lined up, hands willing to help mold their aspirations into tangible reality. John found himself leading discussions that flowed seamlessly with laughter, ideas, and a sense of hope that illuminated every corner. Ultimately, they established a harmonious synergy of design and community input that resulted in a completed prototype, a vibrant representation of everything they had imagined. Residents rallied around the project, creating buzz and excitement that reached further than John had ever anticipated. His vision had become a catalyst, a living, breathing space that echoed the laughter of children and the stories of families. As he stood in front of the completed design on opening day, surrounded by Ethan, Noah, and a sea of grateful faces, John recognized the fruition of his arduous journey. He had conquered a monumental personal conflict, the fear of stepping into his father's legacy while passionately carving his own path. In this moment of closure, he had proven not only to the community but to himself that legacy is not a burden, but a bridge through which he could create something new. John breathed in deeply, exhaling the lingering doubts that had haunted him for so long, replaced instead by unwavering determination and a newfound legacy. It was no longer about merely walking in his father's footsteps. It was about honoring that past while crafting a future filled with possibilities. The place felt alive, a testament to resilience and innovation. John Miller, once on the brink of professional stagnation, had achieved not only personal fulfillment, but cemented an enduring bond with his community. Now was the moment when his future awaited, vibrant and promising, beckoning him to leap again, further into the unknown. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending below. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share.